Honestly, it's a little mean to have Role Player be the only game on this table, but it just happens to be the only one I currently have. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is 10 games I got rid of, got back, and then got rid of, or am getting rid of, again. Now, before we go into that, a quick word from our sponsor, GameFound. Over on GameFound, we have Umbrella Academy, the board game coming from Mantic Games. Umbrella Academy is going to have you select your heroes, select the villain, deal with the scenario, and try to ultimately save the world while dealing with all the hazards and the unique hazards from that villain. And when you're done doing all of that, you can go ahead and, well, pick another villain and start the process all over again. The Deluxe Pledge comes with a whole bunch of goodies, and you can check all that out with the link down in the description down below where they know that I sent you. And with that, let's go ahead into this list. This list. I did a few weeks ago, I did a video of 10 games I got rid of and got back, or 10 games I was wrong about, something along those lines. The basic idea of that video was a bunch of games where I got rid of them, and then I had second thoughts, and I got them back, and they've become some of the favorite games in my collection, including Everdell, Istanbul, Raj of the Ganges, a whole bunch of amazing games that I was just wrong about. Because I got rid of a lot of games, and I have second thoughts a lot, and this video is almost the opposite to that video. Well, it is the opposite of that video. It's not almost the opposite of the video. This video is 10 games I got rid of, had those second thoughts, sought it down again, got it back for one reason or another, and then turns out there was a reason I got rid of it the first time. And that I was right the first time, and the reasons why I got rid of it, the reason why it's no longer a fit for me, or wasn't a fit for me to begin with, those reasons held up. And in the case of this list, by the way, compared to the last one, I had so many games I could have picked from this. There were easily like 20 games. I cut it down to the 10 I felt most strongly about in terms of my desire to explore them again, to see them again, to try to figure out what it was about the game that compelled me, it didn't compel me, will it work for me, will it not work for me, and as usual, because I like adding more titles to lists, I will have 11 games. Specifically, the 11th is going to be Arboretum. Arboretum is a great game of trying to arrange trees. You're trying to arrange trees in your own tableau. You're going to have cards you're going to be taking. You want to be mindful of getting the right sequences, the right colors, so you can maximize your scoring in the game. A whole bunch of stuff goes into how the game actually plays. I'm not going to heavily focus on that. But the thing about Arboretum is it is simultaneously tight, it's mean, it's a thinky filler. It plays in roughly 40-ish minutes or so, depending on the player count, how fast you go. But it gives you a really thinky, really rewarding experience. And it's a game that I got rid of it. And then got it back. And then played it, and I was like, that's a really, really good game. And then I got rid of it. Which makes it a candidate for this list. The reason it's not on this list, technically speaking, is because I'm pretty sure I'm getting Arboretum back. I'm not certain, and I may get rid of it a third time. I don't know how many games I've gotten rid of 3 times. I think that's a very, very small amount, which is why I'm always hesitant to get a game back for the third time, because at a certain point you're like, how many times before we just call this a problem? I mean, it's all a problem. But I think Arboretum's really, really good. I just worry I won't really play it once I get it back. I worry that I'll get it, put it on my list of little small box games, and never really pull it out. It's really, really good though, so I probably should pull it out. So Arboretum is going to be a number 11. It's a really solid game that I got rid of the first time because I wasn't playing it, the second time because I wasn't playing it, and now I'm getting it back to see if it will ultimately be played or not. From there, moving into the 10, and Role Player is going to be a little bit lower down the list. There's timestamps to everything if you want to jump to them. Starting off with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Architects of the West Kingdom. Now when I get a game back, I get them back for any number of different reasons. Architects of the West Kingdom is a Shem Phillips title in which you're going to be from Garphill Games, in which you're going to be doing this interesting worker placement thing where as you place workers, everything scales up and gets better. Basically, you're placing a worker, and then what happens is when you're done placing the worker, you're going to count the number of workers you have there, and you're going to take a stronger action depending on how many workers you have there. Not all locations, that's a very, very basic premise across the board. The problem with Architects, and I love that mechanic by the way, the idea of your workers getting more stronger as you go, and then players have the opportunity to capture them to mess up your plans, love that whole interaction. I find the rest of the game around Architects just doesn't set off any bells for me, it doesn't do anything magical, it feels like a really core mechanic, a really core concept and principle, and the rest of the game just feels okay to me. It doesn't really spark joy in any typical sense. And so I played Architects of the West Kingdom when I first got it, and I got rid of it sadly, because hey, it is what it is. I think I played it twice, I don't remember, not sure. And then I got it back a while later. For 2 reasons. First of all, is with every single Garphill Games, with every single Shem Phillips title, I frequently find myself not in alignment with the general population, and am I missing something? Is this something, did I play it wrong? Did I play on the wrong day? I'm always wondering if I'm missing something, and that's part of it. But then also, it came out with an expansion. And I'm always a little bit more willing to give games a second try with an expansion. Lorenzo Magnifico, one of the games that I got rid of and got back again and kept, the expansion is what saved it for me. That's from the other video, not from this video. So I hope that the Age of Artisans expansion, if I'm not mistaken, I hope that expansion would make Architects a better game for me, and I don't know if it did. Meaning, I'm not even saying I didn't keep Architects. I got rid of it. That's the point of it being on this list. I got rid of it a second time because playing it again with the expansion, I think we got 2 games in with the expansion, and I was like, it's still not a game I love. And I don't think the expansion added to the experience for me. I don't think the expansion was bad, but I don't think it added to the experience for me either. It just felt more procedural stuff around a mechanic that I love, that I want to see executed more and differently in other games, but didn't work for me in Architects of the West Kingdom. Number 9 is It's a Wonderful World. It's a Wonderful World from Lucky Duck Games, and this is another one that I actually probably will have. Actually, I think I have It's a Wonderful World. It just happens to be upstairs, which is why I forgot about it. But It's a Wonderful World is another game that I got back because of the expansion. The Corruption and Ascension expansion, which I never had a chance to play, and I've heard good things about it, and it absolutely improves the game for me. I will never play It's a Wonderful World without the Corruption and Ascension expansion if I have the choice to do either. I say if I have the choice because if you want to play It's a Wonderful World with me and you don't have the expansion, I'll play the base game. It's not a bad game. It's a Wonderful World is a very good game. It's just a very good game that I drastically prefer Seven Wonders as an experience every single time. I find It's a Wonderful World kind of gives me the thinkiness in terms of the work effort of what I'm trying to do without the reward and the payoff that I get in other games. You're drafting cards and you're building the cards, and the interesting thing about It's a Wonderful World is the fact that you're daisy chaining the production cycle. So there's only 4 rounds to the game, but within each round you have 5 different production cycles, which means you're constantly chaining things off, and as you start the game you feel like you're never going to build anything, but as you get to the end of the 4th round you have an engine that is humming, you have cards on the table, and you're working towards your strategy, your pathway of how you're going to score cards, what's going to feed off one another, and Corruption and Ascension absolutely makes it better. It just has better cards that are more fun to interweave. It adds cards that score based off of sets of cards. It just works better for me in every way. It doesn't have any major changes, to be very clear. The changes in the Corruption and Ascension expansion are minimal. The whole gameplay rules booklet for the Corruption and Ascension is like a page, if a page. I could hand it to you and you'd probably figure it out without needing me to tell you anything, but it does work well. But it's still not enough for me. Still, It's a Wonderful World is still a game that I prefer to play Seven Wonders. I prefer to play other drafting games or other small, short tableau games. I think it's a fine game. I enjoy my time with it originally. I enjoyed my time with it this time round. I just don't think I'm going to ever ask to play it, and that in itself is a death blow. Which brings me to number 8. It's kind of the reverse problem. Suburbia. Suburbia is one of the first games I got in the hobby way back in the day. I don't remember exactly when. I just remember I got it before Castle of Mad King Ludwig was a thing. And I played with my wife, and we enjoyed it. It was a fun game. It was a fun game of trying to set your tiles out and try to maximize your scoring based on the airports, the restaurants, and all the residential and the commercial and all these different things. And it works really well with one small caveat, which is a whole lot of math and counting, and you're bound to make a mistake somewhere along the road. That's almost certainly guaranteed. Suburbia is a great game, but it's a great game with a cost to that great experience. And eventually I got rid of it. I don't remember why I got rid of it the first time, but I do remember is getting it back. I remember getting it back because I was like, I want to play this game again. I love Suburbia. And I got it back. I got back the big collector's edition. I was like, this is like such a good game. I should never have gotten rid of it. We sat down, we played it, we tabled it. We did so again a week later, and then we stopped tabling it. And I got to a point where I just asked everyone in my game group. I asked my wife, I asked my game group, I asked all the people who play games with me. I said, are you ever asking to pick Suburbia? And the answer for everyone is kind of the same. It was like we should, but we probably won't. Which is a shame, because I really do like Suburbia. I think it's a very solid game. It's not a game that I like enough to push onto others in my life, and it's not a game they like enough to ask for, which means Suburbia left again. Jesse and Shira, Quacklope, they got their hands on a copy of the base game, and we sat down, we played it, we all liked it. I was hopeful maybe they would ask to play it, and I have an excuse to get back that collector's edition. They haven't asked to play it. I really, really like Suburbia. I would happily play Suburbia again and again and again. I love the puzzle, the scoring, the process of picking the tiles. I love it. I think it's really, really solid. Everyone else I play the game with seems to think it's a good game, but not the great game that they want to pull out and ask for. Number 7 is Atlantis Rising. Probably one of the more recent ones, although I guess this is probably the most recent one, or It's a Wonderful World. Atlantis Rising from Elf Creek Games is a game I got, well, I don't remember when I got it, but I got it. I got it after, not the original. The original one came out a long time ago. I never played that one. I played the new one from Elf Creek Games, and I thought it was both really, really solid, and also not a game I needed to keep. It was one of my first reviews, so to speak. I did a comparison between Atlantis Rising and between Pandemic. A play this, not that, between the two games. Pandemic won. Atlantis Rising stuck around for a few more months, but eventually left. And then, I was having second thoughts about it a bit ago. I don't remember why, the exact details, but I remember thinking about the parts of it I liked, because I really did like it. Like It's a Wonderful World, it's not that I didn't like the game, it's that I had a better idea to play this not that between It's a Wonderful World and Seven Wonders. And Seven Wonders won. I just kept keeping the games that were better for me. In the case of Atlantis Rising, I had fond enough memories of the things that it did well that I didn't need the expansion to try to get it back. Although I am still semi-intrigued to try it with the expansion, but I got it back and was like, this is still very good. It's still very compelling. There's a lot of aspects to the game that I very much do enjoy, but at the end of the day, it didn't spark joy enough. And so we gave it those 2 or 3 more plays, and then realized we were kind of okay with not playing it again. It's good. It's very, very good. I'd just rather play some other games instead. My number 6 is Seasons. Now, Seasons, honestly, if I was ranking, I don't know the exact order how to rank this in terms of this. Like, what am I ranking exactly? My favorite games, my least favorite games, the games I most likely almost didn't keep. But if it was that, if it was the conversation around which games do I have the most regret, well, then Arboretum would be at the top inherently. But I think Seasons might be at the top of this list otherwise. I still want to get Seasons back. I'm not going to. I'm not. But I have such fond memories for what Seasons does well. See, Seasons is a game of rolling dice, assigning those dice to various zones, and getting crystals, and getting energy, getting extra card, getting various slots in your board. You can level up your own personal tableau of what you can hold on to. But it's a game of ultimately drafting cards at the beginning of the game, getting more cards throughout the course of the game, and using those cards in a combo that will work well to give you all the magic you want. It's all about the cards in Seasons. It's all about the crazy powerful abilities and the ways you're going to make everything work and function together, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Don't know why you're making a noise over there, computer. But I loved the game. It was so good in terms of just everything about it. For a long time, it was my password to like a whole bunch of stuff because I just liked Seasons that much. I don't know what eventually changed for me, but I do remember that at a certain point, Seasons, the card drafting, the cards, the powers and abilities, all that stuff was equally as amazing the entire way through. But the rest of the engine around it felt a little bit too boring, might be the right word. The whole process of building up the crystals, of trading in crystals, I really liked the concept. It's just there was 2 halves to the game. There was a half that I loved and I adored to this day, and there's a half that grew repetitive and boring and less interesting over time. And Seasons crowns both those into one game, which means I had to eventually make the choice to get rid of it because we weren't playing it anymore. 2 years ago or so, I got it back with the Board Game Geek Deluxeified upgraded bits because I traded for a copy that had those. The problem is when I got it back, I played it a few more times, and once again was reminded of just how much I like the things it does well, while still not being enamored with the things that I think are okay. I really like Seasons, though. The process of building out your cards, your powers and abilities, the initial draft, and the continued cards you draw throughout the course of the game, I really like Seasons. Like, I wish someone took the concept and made a different or better game out of it. But I really like Seasons. Number 5 is Ghost Stories, which I really don't like. Ghost Stories is a game that I played a while ago. I remember I got it first because I love Seven Wonders, so anything Antoine Baza touched was a sell for me. Multiple times let me down, don't get me wrong, but I hadn't figured that part out yet. And so when I heard about Ghost Stories, I definitely picked it up. And it's a cooperative game. We love pandemics. Let's go ahead and give this a try. And we never won. We never came close to winning. We gave it multiple top plays, both, I don't remember if I played it solo in the early days. I think I just played with my wife the first time around. Gave it multiple plays and did not like it. She did not like it. I liked the concept but couldn't figure out how to win, which really bugged me, and it just made it a very harsh, very negative experience. And I got rid of it. And then a few years ago, I got it back. Same trend over here. Some of these, inherently the whole conversation is around games that I got back. But I got it back, and I tabled it solo this time. I did not put my wife through that, and I wasn't going to bother. I tabled it solo, played it a few more times, still didn't win, but it wasn't that I didn't win this time. To me, the issue became the fact that I felt that the agency I had, the nuanced choices I had, were less and less common. There were occasional times you had to choose between this or that, making an actual decision, but most of my choices were more along the lines of, well, this seems to be the obvious move to win. Now, granted, I didn't win, so maybe I'm just not making the obvious moves, but also it's a game that's notorious for not winning, so I don't know exactly which one to take away from that. What I do know is that I got Seasons back, and it still was a pain to actually play and table and go through everything and win, and it just wasn't worth the effort for the experience that it was giving. Number 4, we finally get up to Role Player. I've tried with Role Player, I really have, although there is a caveat to the trying, and it's a caveat that you will rightfully lambast me for. in this big box over here, I have the expansions, and I have never played roleplay with the expansions, but I continuously have played the base game and continuously have gotten more and more bothered by it. My last play was a few months ago, and it was another reminder of the fact that I just don't like the base game that roleplayer is. Now, I've heard good things about the expansions. The expansions supposedly really added a ton to the game, and for a long time I held on to the hope that I would eventually table the base game with some of the expansions to see if that was true. But it hasn't happened. I have managed to play the base game again. Didn't like it anymore. And so for me, roleplay is a game I'm finally giving up on. I got it the first time, and I didn't get it back until expansions came out. Once expansions came out, once I heard that the expansions make it a much better game, I wanted to give it a shot, but that's where it's tricky, because I have the expansions and have not played them, and I know I should. I read the rules for them. It's been 2 years. This game's been... It's been 2 years. I've had it for long enough, and I've played the game, but I have not managed to table the expansions. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying roleplayer to me is a game of... It's a game of rolling dice, trying to manipulate the dice, and trying to use your various abilities and your stats and buy gear and equipment and all those things. And again, I don't feel there's a lot of subtle, nuanced choices. I feel most of the choices are fairly obvious. I feel most of the dice building does come down to a large degree of luck, especially the fact that you can re-roll certain things. There's a large degree of luck in the game. It's fun-ish. Like, I don't mind the fact that I have played it, if that's high praise or not. Number 3 is Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Make no mistake, you should get Lords of Waterdeep. I mean, all of these games are pretty fantastic in their own way, but Lords of Waterdeep in particular... Lords of Waterdeep is one of my gateway games. And it's a game that when I got it, I was like, I will hold on to this forever, because of course I will. When I got the expansion, because yes, I played with the expansion, don't worry, I've played with the expansion, I was like, this game is amazing, it's the best, we will have Lords of Waterdeep forever. But my gaming taste grew. The things I like grew, the complexity of the various things I play grew. And Lords of Waterdeep, instead of being the best game ever, it became a pretty good worker placement game that was really good once upon a time, but also... most choices feel fairly scripted again, and eventually there's some nuanced choices, but like it's not that interesting of a game. It's just a really fun game, and there's lots of card draws and campaigns and quests you can go on. Not really campaigns, just really quests. But it just didn't feel... It was amazing for where I was in my gaming journey. But I got rid of it because it stopped being the right game for me in my gaming journey. And I got it back because I remembered how much I liked it. And then I didn't play it. That's not true. I played it once. I played it once. Because I remembered that I was no longer in the same place in my gaming journey. I think Lords of Waterdeep is one of the best introductory worker placement games I will recommend to somebody. I'll ask you a few questions. I'll try to go into it. Do you want Stone Age, Almanac the Dragon Road, or Lords of Waterdeep? Possibly some others, but those are like 3 really solid worker placement games, and I'd recommend different ones depending on why or what you liked in other games and things like that. But make no mistake, Lords of Waterdeep would be a fantastic choice for anyone. There's just possibly there's better choices depending on who you are. But the key term for me is gateway. I still consider Lords of Waterdeep to be a gateway experience. I have not played through everything, I guess. I'm pretty sure I played through all the basic gameplay and stuff, and the quests and all the stuff. Lords of Waterdeep is really, really, really good. It's worth checking out. It's also not a game I need to own anymore. Number 2 is Great Western Trail. And Lord knows I tried with Great Western Trail. I tried. I got the game the first time round, played the game again, and played the game again. Constantly wondering about it. It was a weird moment for me because I both remember the fact that playing the Great Western Trail was a satisfying experience every single time I played it. But satisfying is not the same as mind-blowing, mind-bending, amazing, incredible. It had a lot of very positive words that we as a group attached to Great Western Trail, and none of the "this is the best game ever, we must have it" kind of words. And those words are important to me. Those words are important in terms of defining whether a game stays or goes, and so we eventually got rid of Great Western Trail. But then it continued to rise on Board Game Geek, it continued to go up in the rankings, and at a certain point, I got it back. I got rid of it again. We gave it another 3 plays. Like, again, this is a game we gave time to. We really did. It's a lot going on here, and I like Great Western Trail. I think it's a really solid game, but it doesn't spark joy. I don't know exactly why. Going back to role player, I mean, it's just, some games just don't spark joy in the way you want them to, and Lords of Waterdeep, that's not true. Great Western Trail is one of those games that it's good. It's very good. You should check it out. Not for me. And number 1 is another game that I kind of want to get back, but realistically can't justify it, and so for right now, I won't. And that's Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is fantastic. I had this game in my collection since like 2005, 14 or something like that. And I finally got it tabled, I believe in 2016. I probably should know this because I just have to do some mental math on what stuff happened. But basically, I finally tabled it shortly after my wife had a baby, and she was in the hospital with the newborn, and I was home alone with the other kids. So not alone, I was home with the other kids, and we had a game night, and I finally tabled Cosmic Encounter. I don't remember which kid it was, so I can't say which year. But it happened with one of the kids. I think it was my oldest son. Don't know. But we finally tabled it, and it was fantastic. Cosmic Encounter was an absolutely fantastic experience. We continued to play it again and again and again over the next year, and it very quickly became one of my top 10 games of all time. If I were given my top 10 games of all time, you would not recognize that list, because the games that were on that list, I had Dominion, I had 5 Tribes, I had Cosmic Encounter, I had other games that I don't remember, but I had a totally different list than the games I have now. The Blood Rages, the Castle Burgundy might have been on there. Blood Rages, Terraforming Mars, these are games I discovered after I fell in love with Cosmic Encounter. At a certain point, we stopped playing Cosmic Encounter. I don't have a firm exact answer why. I can tell you that on my end, I do feel that Cosmic Encounter is more of an experience than a game. I think it's more about the fact that you will have incredible experiences, incredible moments of card play, of alien powers, of the way someone played a negotiate against a negotiate, or an attack against a negotiate, the backstabbery, the screwage, and the working together. I think Cosmic Encounter tells stories. But I got it back to see if I was wrong about it, and we had the same problems all over again. The same hardness to table, the same, when we did table, what player counts were optimal. 6 is a little too much, 4 is a little too little, 5 is just right, but do you always have exactly 5? And what compromise are you willing to make to play it? Maybe you'll play it with 6 and 4, maybe those work for you, maybe they're not, maybe there's other things you can do instead. Cosmic Encounter is fantastic, but we didn't table it, we got it back, and we didn't table it enough the second time round. And so reluctantly, very, very reluctantly, Cosmic Encounter left our collection for the second time. I don't think I'm getting it back a third time. I think it's a great game. Great experience. I think it's a great experience. But I also think that it requires a very specific player count, placed in a certain length of time, and because of that, I think we are unlikely to have that group pop up exactly when necessary, and even then there's a 50% chance that they play something else. And so Cosmic Encounter is sadly gone. And that's it. These are 10 games that I got rid of, got back because of second thoughts one way or another, either because I loved them or because they were ranked highly enough that I felt the need to chase them down a second time. But despite all my efforts, these 10 games, and possibly 11 depending if you count Arboretum, are all games that left even a second time. Except for Role Player. That one has to go. We'll figure out the details later. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this list, and as always, have a good one.